Oh,
It began with a moment no one in the cafe could have predicted. The young German heiress sat across the table, her voice trembling as she whispered in her mother tongue, thinking no one around her could possibly understand. She had been speaking softly, almost as if to herself, words weighed with frustration and longing. But then the man sitting at the next table, a stranger with a quiet strength in his eyes, turned his head slightly and said in perfect German, Ich verstehe jedes Wort, das Sie gesagt haben, I understand every word you said. For a second, the air seemed to freeze. The young woman's hand stopped midway to her teacup, her lips parted but no sound came out. She was the heiress of one of Germany's oldest family fortunes, traveling through Europe in hopes of escaping the suffocating expectations at home. And yet, she had just been exposed, her private words no longer private at all. But what shook her wasn't the fact that someone understood, it was who understood. The man was not dressed in fine suits or polished shoes. He was a single father, his little daughter sketching happily beside him, crayons scattered on the table. His hands were rough from work, his shoulders broad but carrying the weariness of someone who had fought too many silent battles. The heiress' first reaction was defensiveness. She narrowed her eyes, demanding sharply, You speak German? The man nodded, his calmness disarming. Yes, he replied softly. And I understood everything you said about feeling trapped, about not knowing if anyone sees you for who you really are. I see you. The heiress froze again, this time not from shock, but from the piercing truth in his words. No one had ever spoken to her like that, no one had ever looked past her wealth, her last name, her family legacy, to simply see her. What began as a tense encounter slowly unraveled into conversation. The heiress introduced herself, Amelia. The man smiled and told her his name was Daniel, and his daughter was Sophie. Amelia noticed how Daniel's eyes softened whenever he looked at his daughter, and how Sophie's world seemed safe and whole in the simple presence of her father. Amelia couldn't remember the last time she felt that kind of unconditional love. Over the next days, Amelia found herself returning to the cafe, drawn not by the aroma of coffee but by the unexpected bond that had begun forming. Daniel was different. He didn't flatter her, didn't tiptoe around her last name, and when she tried to impress him with stories of lavish events, he listened politely but never seemed swayed. Instead, he told her about nights spent working 2 jobs to make sure Sophie could attend school, about his late wife who had passed away far too soon, and about the loneliness of raising a child in a world that often looked past single fathers. One evening, Amelia overheard him speaking to Sophie in German. She was stunned, his accent flawless, his phrasing warm. Daniel admitted quietly that he had studied in Germany years ago, back when he had dreams of being more than just a worker, before life had stripped him of those ambitions. I thought those dreams were gone, he said with a faint smile, until you reminded me that maybe it isn't too late to start again. But the path wasn't smooth. Amelia's family soon discovered she had been spending time with a common man and his child. They summoned her back, insisting that her future was already written, tied to alliances with powerful families. She was expected to return home, marry a man chosen for her, and continue the legacy. When she resisted, the weight of her family's disapproval bore down heavily. Daniel, too, faced whispers and cold glances from those who thought he was overstepping into a world where he didn't belong. For a time, Amelia disappeared. Daniel returned to the cafe every day, Sophie asking when Amelia would come back. He could only tell her he didn't know. His heart told him that Amelia was fighting a battle bigger than either of them, a battle between duty and desire, between wealth and freedom, between the life she was born into and the life she longed for. And then, one stormy afternoon, Amelia returned. Her eyes were red from crying, her hands trembling, but her voice steady. She told Daniel she had made her choice. For the first time in my life, she said, I want to live for me. And if I live for me, then I choose this. I choose to sit in a small cafe with crayons on the table, listening to your daughter laugh. I choose you. Daniel's silence lasted only a heartbeat before he pulled her into his arms. For Sophie, who squealed with delight, it felt like the family she had always dreamed of was finally complete. For Amelia, it was liberation. For Daniel, it was hope reborn. The journey wasn't perfect. There were still challenges, balancing 2 different worlds, proving their love wasn't a fleeting rebellion but a lasting truth. But through it all, they discovered something powerful. Love doesn't measure wealth or status, it measures sacrifice, kindness, and the courage to stand against what the world expects of you. By the end, Amelia was no longer just the German heiress, and Daniel was no longer just the single dad. Together, they were a reminder that sometimes the most unexpected connections can change the course of your life forever. And so, dear viewers, if this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the power of love, courage, and choosing your own path, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Because stories like these are more than entertainment, they're reminders that no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, you always have the right to choose love, to choose freedom, and to choose your own destiny.